This is Candy with Eyes2Jesus.blogspot.com. If you hear those unhuman-like creature noises in the background, that is my dog. She loves to look out the window, and she is watching a dog way out in the field. It's literally like a dot, but she's watching it and intermittently whining and growling and barking after it, so it's really cute. My dog is a very extroverted dog. Yeah, you always want to go play, huh, Nikita? Alright, so welcome to New Year's. Shh. So welcome to New Year's with Eyes2Jesus. This is New Year's Eve, this is afternoon, and I am just getting started on cooking and preparing for tomorrow's feast. So I'm getting a late start. I was up early in the morning and ready to roll, but life happens. And so I ended up having to handle some unexpected things. They were fun though. They were fun, unexpected things that I didn't plan for or foresee. So that is all handled. My husband is out actually running a few errands for me right now, and I am getting started. So like usual, the first thing I'm starting with is sweet potato casserole. Now, even though I bought my sweet potatoes ahead of time like I always do, they were not stocked up at the store. So normally I would start with 4 medium sweet potatoes. They literally had just small ones left. There were 8 small ones left, and one of them was unusable. So I have 7 small sweet potatoes that I'm working with instead of 4 medium ones, which will still work out just fine. So I have my sweet potatoes peeled and washed. I got some water boiling in the pot behind me, and I put some grapeseed oil in the water just to help prevent it from boiling over. So now I'm just chopping up these sweet potatoes into some medium to smallish chunks, and then I'm going to pop them into that water to boil. So if you're new to my channel or new to my New Year's vlogs, what I do is I vlog 2 days in this video. I vlog my New Year's Eve and I vlog my New Year's Day. So the first part of New Year's Eve is the cooking and the preparation. Then the second part will be the fun and the festivities. And then I'll show the next day our New Year's Day and the feasting and all of that. So I'm going to continue getting these chopped up and get them boiling. While the sweet potatoes are boiling in the pot behind me, I have the oven preheating to 350 degrees, and I'm getting to work on making a chocolate custard pie. So I have my big bowl out, and we're going to begin with milk. I always smell my milk, even though this doesn't expire until January 10th. You can never be too sure. So I'm going to start with 2 cups of milk in a nice big bowl. Okay, then we need the sweet stuff. So let's do some sugar. So let's start with 1 cup of sugar. This granulated white sugar. And since this is a chocolate custard pie, you need a bit more sugar to offset the bitterness of the cocoa. So I'm going to do an additional 1/4 cup of sugar. Now, to that, I'm going to add a ½ cup of all-purpose white flour. See, this chocolate custard pie is going to make its own crust, and the flour is going to help provide the main ingredient to do that. Okay, and then let's add the chocolate. So I'm just going to put in 4 tablespoons, or about a 1/4 cup of baker's cocoa. And then this is, remember, a custard pie, so that requires eggs. So now to that, let's put in 4 eggs. Then we want to do a teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. And then a ½ stick of soft butter. Now I'm going to grab a whisk. That's my oven telling me it's heated up. That's good because we're about to use it. Meanwhile, I'm going to grab a whisk, and I'm now just whisking all of this together. It's going to be very, very liquidy. So it's going to take me a few minutes to mix it together, because whenever you add cocoa powder to a very liquidy mix, like for example you're making chocolate chia seed pudding, same thing, it takes a little while to really get that cocoa completely mixed in. So I buttered just your standard size pie pan. I just greased it up with butter. So I'm going to get this very thoroughly mixed together, and then I'm going to pour this very liquidy mixture into this pie pan, and then I'm going to set the pie pan on top of a cookie sheet in case there's any dripping or overflowing during the cooking process, so it doesn't get my oven messy. And I will bake this at 350 degrees for 50 minutes. And there is my dog telling me about the doggy she's been watching out the window today. I haven't stuck the chocolate custard pie into the oven yet because my sweet potatoes are done. They both are going to go in at 350, so I'm just going to get these ready really quick, and then the chocolate custard pie and the sweet potato casserole will go in together. Okay, so first thing I did was I drained my sweet potatoes, and I have them here in this bowl. Now I'm going to get this into my KitchenAid mixer, and I need to use my mixer to get the potatoes all mashed up. The potatoes are all mashed up, so now it's time to add the other ingredients. So we're going to start with some milk. I'm going to put in a ½ cup of whole milk. Then we're going to move on to white sugar. We're going to want 1 whole cup of white sugar. There we go. And then we want about a 1/3 stick of soft butter. A little bit more. And then we're going to do a ½ teaspoon of salt. I like to use pink Himalayan sea salt. And then we want 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. And then we're going to put in 2 beaten eggs. Now I'm going to pop this back into my KitchenAid mixer and get this all mixed together, and then I'll move on to the next step. There is a dog voraciously eating here in the kitchen because her food and water bowl are on the floor here in the kitchen. So if you hear that, that's what that is. Alright, so let's get this sweet potato casserole finished up, and then we're going to put the sweet potato casserole and the chocolate custard pie in the oven together. So I just washed my hands. Now, I finished mixing the sweet potato mixture. I popped it into a 9 by 13 baking pan, and I am now just grabbing some brown sugar with my hands and spreading some on top. I don't measure this. I just kind of go to what looks good, and after years and years of making this, I just kind of know the amount, how it looks to how it tastes the best for us. So if you don't like too very sweet, then just put on a small layer or none at all, because this side dish, this feast side dish is extremely, extremely sweet. That was a hard piece of brown sugar. So, you know, it could be a dessert, but it's a definite favorite. There we go. Now I'm going to rinse my hands. Alright, and then I have 1 small bag of mini marshmallows. I already got it cut open. That whole bag is going on top. Let's get this all spread around. There we go. Now I'm going to put both of these side by side in the middle rack in my 350-degree oven. The sweet potato casserole will go for 30 minutes. The chocolate custard pie will go for 50 minutes. So while the chocolate custard pie and the sweet potato casserole are both in the oven, I'm getting started on my next 2 things, which is a Russian apple pie and some baked macaroni and cheese. Except it's going to be baked shells and cheese, because when I went to buy, and again I bought ahead of time, elbow macaroni for the baked macaroni and cheese, all pasta in the whole store was wiped out except for 1 bag of 1 pasta, and that was this large bag of small shells. So I just measured out about 16 ounces of these small shells, and I have those boiling in some water with a bit of grapeseed oil in it so it doesn't boil over. So I have the shells cooking back here for my baked shells and cheese. So while I'm waiting for the shells and cheese to bake and while my other items are in the oven, I'm working on the Russian apple pie. So I took a standard size springform pan, I cut parchment paper into a circle, put it on the bottom of the pan, and then I buttered the sides. I then peeled and cleaned 4 medium apples. I just use whatever apples I have around. Today I have pink lady apples, so I'm doing pink lady apples. And I am now cutting these 4 apples into slices, and then I'm going to pop them into the springform pan on top of the parchment paper. So I got the apples all sliced and put in here on the parchment paper in my springform pan. So the next step is to sprinkle some cinnamon on. I don't measure, I just sprinkle on until I have a nice, beautiful little brown layer of cinnamon. Now moving on to the second part of the Russian apple pie, I need to make the batter. The batter is very, very, very simple. So we're going to start with 1 cup of just regular white granulated sugar. Then we want 1 cup of just your standard all-purpose white flour. And then we're going to put in 3 eggs. Okay, that was the timer telling me it's time to take out the sweet potatoes. So I'm just going to put in this 3rd egg here really quick and give my hands a rinse. And the sweet potato casserole is done. So let's get that out of the oven. That looks good. The chocolate custard pie still got a little ways to go, so that's going to stay in there. Okay, so 1 cup of flour, 1 cup of sugar, 3 eggs. I'm just breaking up the egg yolks. Now I'm going to get this all mixed together. Alright, so it takes a little while to mix up, especially if you're recovering from 1-year bout of tennis elbow like I am. I'm almost at the 1-year mark and it's doing way, way better. It's just now I have to strengthen the tendon because it's weakened. But yeah, so I have this mixed together. It's going to be a very thick and sticky batter because the only liquid in here is the eggs. And it's going to be yellow because, again, the eggs. So now we bring forth our little apple mixture that we worked on earlier. And we're going to start just kind of glopping on our very, very thick and sticky yellow batter. You want to take your time with this, no hurry. And I am just glopping it on randomly around, trying to keep it kind of even. Okay, now I'm just using the back of my spoon and I'm just very carefully and gently spreading the batter around. It does not have to be spread around perfect. All the apples do not have to be covered. I just like to try to bring it at least a bit to the edges, and it doesn't even have to be all the way to the edges. The beauty of the Russian apple pie is it's going to look artistic. It's going to have a very creative and neat, unique look to it, and that's what we're looking for. Okay, so here's where we are right now. I have the sweet potato casserole out on the counter cooling. The chocolate custard pie is in the oven for a little bit longer. The Russian apple pie is ready to go in the oven. I have it sitting on the counter covered over because it's going to be a while before it goes in because I want the baked macaroni and cheese or baked shells and cheese to go on first because it'll go in at 350, which I'm already heated to. So now I'm working more on the baked shells and cheese. I have the shells cooked to just barely al dente. So I have them sit over here to the side. And in my bowl here, I put in 1 cup of sharp cheddar cheese and 1.5 cups of mild cheddar cheese. All right, and then to that, I'm going to put in 3/4 cup of sour cream. So I'm just using a 1/4 measuring cup. So that's 1, 2, 3. Let me get a spoon to help get that out. So 3/4 cup sour cream, and then we want 3/4 cup cottage cheese. So that's 1. Kind of draining it so I'm not getting a bunch of, cottage cheese liquid in there. 1, 2, and 3. All right, now I'm going to get the cheeses and the sour cream and the cottage cheese all mixed together. Once these are mixed together, I'm going to pop them into my pot of my barely al dente cooked shells and get that mixed in, and then there'll be more goodies to add. And the chocolate custard pie just came out of the oven, which is good timing because the baked shells and cheese are almost ready to go in the oven, staying at the same temperature of 350 degrees. So the chocolate custard pie is on the counter cooling and doing its final stage. When it first comes out of the oven, it'll be all puffed up, and then it slowly, over about 5 to 10 minutes, kind of sinks down and then forms more into a pie shape with the slightly raised crusts around the edges, partially how it makes its own crust. So I mixed our cheese mixture in with our shell pasta, and then I added 2 teaspoons of salt, and I like to use fine pink Himalayan sea salt, and 1 teaspoon of pepper, and mixed that in. And then I took a taste to make sure it tasted right, and it's fabulous. So now I'm going to add egg, and I'm just adding 1 egg. And I don't know if you can hear kind of a power tool sound in the background. The camera might not be picking it up, but if so, that is my husband. He is helping me do a special modification for one of my planners, so that might be in a future video. Okay, now I'm just breaking up the yolk of the egg that I added in there. And now I'm just going to get this egg mixed in here into the mixture. I have a 9 by 13 baking dish. I have it buttered, so it is greased. I'm now going to pop this into that dish. Okay, get it all spread around evenly here. Now I'm going to take some more of the shredded sharp cheddar cheese that I was using earlier. Get that open back up, side it sealed. And I have about a cup of it left. I'm going to put about a half cup's worth of it, or about a handful-ish, sprinkled on top. A little bit more there. And then I have a half cup left of the mild cheddar cheese. So I'm now going to take the rest of the mild cheddar cheese and sprinkle that on top as well. Now, let me just take a look at my recipe. I know it's at 350 degrees, but for how long? Okay, 350 degrees for 30 minutes. So I'm going to pop this into my 350 degree oven and let it go for 30 minutes, and I'm going to move on to the next thing. All right, and then Miss Rachel, my daughter, she's going to get to work working on a pecan pie from scratch. So she's going to come out and get started on the crust. She's not really feeling being on camera right now. She's kind of comfy in her jammies and hanging out. So the baked macaroni and cheese just came out of the oven, so that's sitting on the counter cooling. I then heated the oven up to 375 degrees and popped in the Russian apple pie, and that's going to be in there for about 45 to 55 minutes. I will start checking it at the 45-minute mark, doing the toothpick test, looking at it and seeing how it is. And then when that's done, then I'll have that out to cool. So now while that's in the oven and while the shells and cheese are on the counter cooling, I am getting started on our cabbage salad. So I took 1 small head of green cabbage and I just chopped it up in little bite-sized pieces and popped it into a bowl. And I took 1 large bunch of scallions or green onions and chopped that up. So I'm going to add that to the cabbage. Cabbage salad is really good. Kind of healthy. Not totally healthy because it's a feast food, but it's kind of healthy. Okay, and then I have 1 packet of chicken-flavored ramen noodles. I removed the chicken seasoning. We'll be using that in just a few minutes. And then I just kind of pushed on the bag and squished on it to try to break up the ramen noodles some. Now I'm going to take these ramen noodles and I'm just breaking them up into smaller clumps as I add this to the mixture. And this is another thing that's really cool about the cabbage salad is because you have these ramen noodles in there, but they don't get cooked. They will marinate in the salad, in the dressing, and soften up that way. But they soften to kind of a really neat texture. So you kind of have uncooked ramen noodles in there. But, you know, ramen noodles, even when you cook them, it doesn't take much. So I just get all these broken up and put in there. So I'm trying to put it in so that clumps are no bigger than this going in. So I just break them up to at least that size or a bit smaller. Okay, now that it's in there, these are our somewhat dry ingredients for the cabbage salad. So I'm getting those all mixed together. The cabbage, the scallion, and the ramen noodles. And then I'm going to set this to the side, and I'm going to make the dressing. For the dressing, I just have just a nice little small mixing bowl. You don't need much space for that. And to that bowl, first I'm going to add a half a cup of extra virgin olive oil. And then I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of organic raw apple cider vinegar. And then we want 2 tablespoons of just standard white granulated sugar. About a half a teaspoon of salt. And of course, you know me, I use the fine pink Himalayan sea salt. A half a teaspoon of ground black pepper. And then open up that seasoning packet from your chicken ramen noodles and pop that in as well. Then just take a fork and you're going to get it all mixed together. So this is the dressing for the cabbage salad. Once you have it very thoroughly mixed together, you just pour it on top of the cabbage mixture. Then just give it a mix, get it all mixed in. So I'm going to get this thoroughly mixed in, and then I'm going to pop the lid on this bowl. This bowl came with the lid, otherwise it's covered over with wrap. And I'm going to stick this in the fridge. And overnight, this is all going to marinate in the dressing. The ramen noodles in there are going to soften. The flavors are going to meld together, and this will be delicious. The Russian apple pie is still going in the oven. I'm getting to work on tomorrow's morning breakfast, where I'm making kind of a fruity coffee cake. So in this pan, or this pot here behind me, I put in 2 cups of frozen mixed berries, and then I put in a 1/4 cup of sugar and a couple tablespoons of cornstarch, and I just stirred it all around over medium heat for about 2 or 3 minutes, and then turned off the heat, and I'm just going to let it sit for a few minutes. Now in my mixing bowl, I put in 1½ cups of flour. To that, I'm going to add 3/4 cup of white sugar. Then I need a half a teaspoon of baking powder. This is a 1/4 teaspoon, so I'll put in 2 1/4 teaspoons. And then I need 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. Now I'm just going to grab my spoon, and I'm just going to give these dry powdery ingredients a quick mix, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, next step, we're going to put in a half stick of soft butter. And we're going to mix that in. Now I'm kind of breaking up the butter and kind of dispersing it around. So I'm kind of breaking it into small clumps and introducing it into the powdery mixture and then mixing it around. So once you have this dispersed, you'll know because you will have a very dry, crumbly mixture, and that's what we're looking for right now. Meanwhile, the timer just went off for the Russian apple pie, so I just took that out of the oven. And I turned the springform pan upside down into a large, this is like a 9 or 10 inch pie pan. It's a really big pie pans. So I put it upside down in there and then lifted it up so that the Russian apple pie popped into here. It cooks upside down, so now it's right side up. So I'm just having this sitting out and cooling. And then I'll pop this in the fridge. And tomorrow, before I serve it, I will sift some powdered sugar on top. And then the Russian apple pie will be ready. Alright, so you might hear in the background my dog is howling and whining because she sees another dog out the window way out in the field again. So you get some background music with that. Alright, so it was time for my daughter to take the dough out of the fridge, and now it's just going to sit here for a little while, for about 10-15 minutes, and heat up a little bit, and then she's going to continue working on that for the pecan pie. Meanwhile, I am working on breakfast for tomorrow, so I'm working on that fruit coffee cake. So I just buttered a pan, what is this, like maybe an 11 by 7 or so, it's the next one down. So I just buttered a pan. You can also do like an 8-inch square pan. And so I just mixed together my dry ingredients. Now I'm going to add in my wet ingredients. So I'm going to start with about a half a teaspoon of pure vanilla extract, then 1 beaten egg, And then a half cup of soured milk or buttermilk. And then I'm going to get this all mixed together. And I'm not mixing it perfect. It should be a clumpy mixture. So I'm only going to mix it until everything is introduced. But I don't want a smooth, perfect batter. I want it to be clumpy. So I just took half the batter thereabouts and spread it on the bottom of the buttered pan. Now I'm going to grab the filling that I worked on earlier. And I'm just going to somewhat try to evenly disperse that on top of this batter. Okay, now I'm going to grab the other half of the filling and I'm just kind of clopping it on. Not going to worry about it getting all spread and looking fabulous. Just kind of clop it on there and it will spread out a bit on its own as it bakes. So you don't have to worry about trying to spread the batter on top, which would be near impossible anyways because this is a very thick and sticky batter. And now to make the crumble topping. So in my little bowl here I have 1/4 cup of flour. To that I'm adding 1/4 cup of sugar and then to that 2 tablespoons of butter. Now, I'm just going to mix this all together. Again, I'm kind of breaking up the butter as I'm dispersing it around. I went ahead and set aside the spoon and just finish mixing in the butter with my hands because I always do better with that when I'm making kind of a crumbly mixture. And then I just sprinkled it on top of the coffee cake and I just popped it into a 350-degree oven and I'm going to have it bake for about 40 to 45 minutes. And then I'll set it out to cool and then it can go into the fridge for tomorrow morning's breakfast. Daughter's pecan pie is in the oven and my handsome husband is helping with cleanup. Thanks, my cutie.
Yes, ever love.
I got some roller skates and my daughter got some roller skates recently too. So we thought it'd be fun to roller skate together. So we are beginning our New Year's Eve fun festivity with roller skates. Oh, champagne.
Here we go.
Oh no.
From the phone.
Gotta get the phone. Ah. Oh, we made it. We're okay. How do I turn off this alarm? We hear booms everywhere. Woohoo! Well, that's not quite a boom.
Right there, Noah.
All right, yeah, let's do this.
There. Let's try not to hit that on the dog, shall we?
No guarantees.
Are you ready?
Ready. Woo!
Very loud.
Pizza.
Uh-oh. Plug my other ear. Woo! Yeah!
I changed it. That didn't used to happen.
Oh, it's vomiting glitter strings.
It's different.
Oh!
The dog's checking it out.
Woo!
Ta-da! Multitask. Ow, the dog just crashed into me. Champagne for the over 21-year-olds, sparkling spider for the under 21-year-olds. All right, now cheers me. Cheers. Cheers. Cheers.
Just cheers on the couch.
Cheers, everybody, and Happy New Year Day. So this is just a basket of what we have left over from last night. So I have some chips, a little bit of chocolate, some more of the glowy things there at the bottom. And I just now heated up the breakfast that I made yesterday, which is the fruity coffee cake. So I am getting ready to dish that out. So welcome to New Year's Day. The breakfast coffee cake was really good, so I probably will be making that again sometime. I just now finished setting the table. Did vacuuming over the floors again since my grandbabies are going to be here. I want to make sure my floors are extra clean. And we're getting ready, and everybody will be arriving shortly. Hello, so welcome to New Year Day night, and we get to have the grandkids for the weekend, so we're going to be watching them tonight and part of tomorrow. So my little granddaughter here, little Miss Leia, she is getting her supper. Yeah. Oh, and little Maddox started walking today. Maddox is on the floor playing with Grandpa. Oh, you getting full? Oh, round two.
It's climbing.
Okay, so little granddaughter there is fed and all tucked in, and then she's probably going to eat in about 3 or 4 more hours. And then big brother's having his night milk there as a snack, and then we're going to get him ready for bed. And we're going to go ahead and wrap up this New Year's vlog here. Have a blessed day.